Well, this is the second time through this game. Definitely a fun game, though. I do enjoy it. It's about time to do another one. Somebody brought it up, and I said, you know what? Yeah, okay. Let's do another Fantasy General. This time we're playing as Krell, though. Anyway, I'm just going to let the intro roll. I also like the artwork in this game a lot.
Air was a world graced with joy and a carefree people. Beauty flourished with the bounty of fertile fields and generous skies. In its innocence, though, Air was ill-prepared for the Shadow Lord, a cancerous evil who spread his cloak of death over the world and ravaged its beauty with the foulest corruption. Armies commanded by the Shadow Lord's baleful creatures swept the continents in a merciless march of death. Few escaped their bloody spears. Fewer still held out any hope for deliverance. And only one dared to challenge the Shadow Lord's malevolent reign.
And the intro is over. Okay, so yeah, Fantasy General. This is the second playthrough I've done. The first one was a while ago, maybe a couple of years ago. It was on hard. We're gonna do this on hard again. Difficulty hard, but the last time we picked Lord Marcus, and the idea there was kind of to take advantage of his heavy infantry, which gave us a really tremendous boost in the beginning. Although, in the end, that bonus wasn't very good, and we started to really lose. Started to end up losing units. I had to start buying, replacements, and I started running out of gold. And ultimately, I actually, I lost on that campaign. I think it was it might have been on the 7th continent, the last continent. I kind of limped through the 6th, I think, and then the 7th got me. I think that's how it went. But anyway, this time we're going to try Krell. And Archmage Krell is kind of the polar opposite. He has a hard start, but in the end game, he's actually very powerful. So it's kind of the reverse. We're going to have trouble in the beginning, whereas at the end of the game, or at least in theory, we should be doing a lot better. Spellcaster lets him cast a spell every turn. Archmage, that means he can hire magical units. Magical units, I think, are arguably the best unit type in the game in several categories, particularly in the Sky Hunter category. Arguably, maybe the heavy infantry category and the bombardier category. They're extremely good. And there's one other benefit he gets, and that is, with magic units anyway, replacing deaths. I believe it doesn't give you the experience hit that it normally would. Normally, if you have a death on a unit, you buy replacement for that unit's. You buy. Let's see here. How do I say this? You buy a replacement, but that replacement comes with no experience. So if I had a unit with 5 shields of experience, and I had half of my unit suffer deaths, and I recruited back those deaths, then I would now have halved my experience, because those recruits would have come back with no experience. And so the average would be for me to have my experience. However, with Krell, I believe he recruits back the deaths at, I want to say it's at least 3/4 of the experience. So it's a huge advantage because in the final stages of the game, the biggest problem is that you need an army to really, on hard anyway, to really put up a good fight against the computer and to win. You need a veteran army. You need a bunch of 4 and 5 shield units. They're the only ones that are going to cut it. So keeping your experience is a big issue when you're playing on hard. Therefore, units that can raise dead, like Phoenix Knights, Phoenix Hawks with Krell, or just units that don't suffer as much experience drain from deaths are a real advantage. And Krell has, not only does he have the Sky Hunters that can recruit dead or revive dead, which is huge advantage. He also has the fact that with his magic units anyway, he doesn't lose as much experience from deaths. Big advantage. So, yeah. So, essentially, Krell should be easier. Now, he has a couple of disadvantages. Number one, he has a smaller army. That's a problem. The second really big thing is he has less morale per unit. He has 20% less morale. Usually, units have 100 morale. He has 80 morale. Across the board, and that's a big issue. You do notice that as a factor when you play the game, and your units tend to break a lot, and that's a huge deal. A broken unit gets penalized with their attack and defense by 5, which is enormous. It's a huge problem, and they always retreat, which can also be a problem. So yeah, you do tend to notice your units breaking a lot more with Krell, and that's a problem. But what can you do? That's what you got to do. It's part of the using Krell. There's no way around it. All right, let's go ahead and let's just start the game. Like I said, we're playing on hard. Maybe I should talk about hard difficulty a little bit. So hard difficulty, basically the only effect is that the enemy AI will recruit units 2 shields higher. So essentially, when it recruits units, it gets an extra 2 shields of experience. And I believe it gets 200% more gold. Basically, the difficulty only comes into effect when the enemy AI begins to recruit new units. And it does not recruit units until the point where it loses units that it started with. It starts each scenario or each map with a certain number of units. If you kill a unit, then it can recruit another unit. If you don't kill any units, then it can't recruit any more units. So once you start killing its units, then then that hard or medium or easy difficulty comes into play, and that determines how many units it can recruit and what experience level these units come in as. And what you'll typically see on the later stages of hard is you'll see that the enemy AI begins to recruit units at like 5 shields, and that becomes a huge problem. In fact, you'll not only see that at the later stages, you'll see that probably at the beginning stages. But what you do to kind of mitigate that is you play the game in a way where you don't start killing units until you have blocked off the AI's ability to recruit units. So that basically means it's practicing something called a no-kill strategy. And it's just part of playing hard. You just kind of have to do it. You cannot really kill enough of the AI's units to like per turn to win a map. Just that way typically. And now there's another factor that plays into this, and that is that there's a specialization penalty. And basically the AI just looks at your army, looks at your research, and that tries to determine if you've got a quote-unquote balanced army or if you've fallen into kind of a specialization. And if you have fallen into a specialization, or it determines so, then what it will do is it will give itself extra experience for recruits and extra gold. So that'll even make it even more extreme as to in terms of how much gold the AI has to recruit new units, and how much bonus they'll get to experience. My finding, and a lot of other people's finding, has been simply forget about trying to avoid the specialization penalty. Specialize as much as you want. Just practice the no-kill strategy. That way, the AI can never recruit its ridiculously powerful units, and I mean, that works. That works for most of the maps in the game. Not all of them. Towards the later stages of the game, the maps are just too big to be able to limit the AI's ability to recruit units all over the map. So you have to kind of do other things. But anyway, for the first, let's say 3/4 of the game, or actually maybe more like the first half or a third of the game, we can use that strategy. Then once we hit like mid-game, we get our like grade 5 units, and then we can just destroy the AI no matter what, up until the last final continents where it becomes hard again, and then we just kind of deal with it as we can. Anyway, alright, so that's what I have to say on difficulty anyway. Let's go ahead and start.
The time of waiting is over. No longer shall we bend beneath the oppression of the Shadow Lord. The Council of Five places all its trust and hope in you to carry forth the rebellion. Our first objective is to recapture one of the 5 continents of air, to create a haven for those who suffer the Shadow Lord's cruelty. The continent of Keldonia, devastated by the Shadow Lord's wrath, is now little more than a barren wasteland. Yet, it provides the best hope for victory. The Shadow Lord's minion, King Draga, does not watch his borders closely.
I really like the art in the game. I mentioned that before.
Any interest in the local populace,
pretty cool.
Save for food and pleasure. King Draga's troops, like their leader, have become lax and scattered across the small continent, concerned only with their own boasting and petty quarrels. A swift march across the continent should enable you to capture King Draga's castle before he has time to marshal his forces. Once that is accomplished, the people of Air should rally to your banner of freedom. But for now, we can provide you with only limited support. The Council of Five relies on you to command those limited forces efficiently.
Okay, so here we go. So, alright, so, basically the thing is, we've got to get past the early game into the place where we've actually got some good units. And so my strategy here with Krell is I'm going to just completely reduce to minimum all the research except in a few categories to give myself some more spending money. At the same time, research the kind of the critical stuff that I'm going to need to get through this early half of the game here. And that means Sky Hunters, Bombardiers, Cavalry, Skirmishers, and Heavy Infantry. Now, okay, so from the start I get access to Mortal and Magic units. Later we'll get Mech units. I think in the first playthrough I did of this game, I did use Mech units, particularly the Siege engines. The Siege engines with Mech units are actually spectacular. They're really good. I'd also say the Mech unit Heavy Infantry, the Warlord Mechanus, is good if you have an amulet. What you need to know is, with mech units, if you have no amulets, they're trash, because a lot of the enemy AI units in this game, particularly in the later part of the game, will have magic attacks, and those mech units will get just devastated by those units really quickly. But if you have amulets, mech units are pretty good. The Warlord Mechanus in particular is pretty good. The Seekers are pretty good too, as far as Sky Hunters. So, yeah, if you have amulets, you know, mech units are okay. We're probably not going to be using any mech units in this game. I might use, like I said, we get an amulet. We get one amulet for guaranteed, so I might throw that on a Warlord Mechanist. I don't know. But in any case, we're going to play and put our research, you know, throw money at our research like we're not going to even bother with mech units. So right from the start, we pump up everything that we're going to use in the later stages of the game. Except for skirmishers, we're just using skirmishers kind of temporarily. And the real problem with skirmishers, and the real problem with a lot of units on hard, is that at the later stages of the game, you cannot keep them 5 shields. Well, skirmishers you kind of can a little bit, but I find that, you know, skirmishers get attacked by sky hunters, cavalry, and whatnot. You know, you're not going to really keep them from taking deaths, which is going to kill their, you know, experience. You know, like once you get to 599 experience, which is the max, you can take maybe 1, maybe 2 deaths without dropping from 5 shields, maybe. Any more than that, you're going to drop from 5 shields, I think, if I remember correctly. So skirmishers are really hard to keep up there. The units that we're going to use are units that can stay 5 shields basically really easily. You know, bombardiers. Bombardiers don't get attacked a lot, and they're going to be escorted by our sky hunters. Plus, they're magic, and therefore, even if they do suffer kills, they don't suffer that much experience loss because we're Krell. Phoenix Knights will have raised dead, therefore, they literally will suffer no experience loss. See, I'm sorry, it's not Phoenix Knights, Phoenix Hawks. Phoenix Knights with cavalry, same thing. They have raised dead. They suffer very little experience loss. Actually, no experience loss. We might use Monks of Mio, maybe, because they're just such a freaking tank unit. They're crazy strong. May or may not. They're a little bit slow, only 3 movement, but we might use a few of them. Skirmishers are just there to get us through a little hump in the game in the early game. Basically, the second and third continent is where we're going to kind of make use of them. Particularly the last part of the second continent is where I'm going to need skirmishers. That last battle on the second continent is pretty rough. So, but anyway, like I said, we're ignoring everything else, which is going to give us a specialization penalty, which we really don't care about because we're going to play the game in a way where that doesn't really affect us for a very long time. Okay, so that's my research. So the other great thing about skirmishers is that they're really cheap. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money getting a bunch of them. I'm going to give the Wand of Fireballs to this Light Cavalry. I do like having 1 Light Cavalry available, because I do find them useful. I'm going to buy 1 Winged Rider Sky Hunter, and this is a good example of how nice magic units are for Krell. You see the Mortal Sky Hunter, 7 melee, 6 armor, 22 gold, and our Sky Hunters, Wing Riders, 11 melee, magic melee, so it's even better, and armor of 7. And 90 magic resist, which means magic attacks will do a little bit less damage than they would to this guy with 75 magic resist. You know, just way better. For less, even. And, yeah, magic units, like I said, they're so much better. But we're going to want 1 Winged Rider, no more than that. Just to kind of mop up a little bit. So, no archers, no nothing. I don't find archers to really add too much, unless you're going to, you know, past like the midpoint in the game. The maps are too big, archers are too slow, and they're too vulnerable in case of like, you know, cavalry or sky units. Sky hunters can also destroy them pretty quick. Despite them getting a bonus versus Sky Hunters, the late-game Sky Hunters that the AI will have will just trash our archers. Plus, they'll get bombed with spells and stuff like that. So archers, I don't even really bother. There's one archer in the game that's a hero. That archer is worth taking, but other than that, let's see here. That's actually the best archer in the game, by the way. So, all right, so that's my army. Maybe I should talk a little bit about like heavy infantry, etc. I should just, yeah, let's just talk about that really quick. Just introduction to all the classes available in the game. There are really, and this is a problem with the game design, but there are really only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, really only 4 classes of units that I'm going to be using in this game, because they're the only units that could really cut it in a hard difficulty. And that's basically heavy infantry, cavalry, sky hunters, and bombardiers. Now, if I were going to play a different kind of style of game, I might be using siege engines, because the mech siege engines are really good, actually. But I'm going to have a smaller army, and I really can only afford to take, you know, just the core units and something like a siege engine, unless I was going to have a big land army. I don't think I would really want to buy too many of those. They're too slow, and they're just kind of a different style of play that I'm going to play this time around. Anyway, it's heavy infantry. Heavy infantry just is, you know, just kind of a tank unit. They tend to have really high armor, really high melee. They're usually only 3 movement, but a lot of the types, a lot of the heavy infantry later on gets force march, which makes them a lot more mobile. Force march is a pretty good spell. It gives them essentially 5 movement, or even, you know, if they're going to move on a terrain which takes all their movement, then it's actually a little bit better than just having a flat 5 movement. But they're basically just a tank unit. They may or may not be the core of your army. Like my last playthrough with Warlord Marcus, they were the core of my army, because he gets such a boost to those in terms of research and cost, and even gives them you know, a +1 shield. In this playthrough, we're not probably going to use a lot of heavy infantry in the later game, because we're going to have mostly a sky unit army. So the ground units that we have will have to be highly mobile, and they will just basically kind of clean up after the sky units come in and destroy everything. But in the early game, like maybe the first continent to like third continent, we will be using heavy infantry, because Krell gets a lot of good heavy infantry that are just, you know, they're just kind of tank units that can hold positions and take positions, whereas everything else I will kind of have access to won't really be strong enough until I get those later units. So, specifically things like the Earth Elemental, and I guess, yeah, the Earth Elemental is a pretty good unit, and I'll be using those units once I get them, just kind of like as a holdover until I can get the later units, because they work really well in the third continent. Those are really powerful. Light infantry, I think they're utter trash. They're really only they have a little bit extra movement, and that's basically it. They have a little bit extra movement and a little bit extra search, so they're kind of like a scout type unit. They're cheap, though not cheap enough in my opinion, versus, you know, because of just how crap they are. But they're like, yeah, they're weaker than heavy infantry. They just don't really offer anything. I think they were a bad design. They were supposed to get bonuses in like rough terrain and stuff like that, but the bonuses does not make up for, you know, the discrepancy in their actual like armor and melee values. Like even with the bonuses in rough terrain, a light melee unit is not going to stand up to a heavy infantry unit. It's just they don't have enough of bonuses. The bonuses aren't big enough for being in that terrain, so it's trash, absolutely trash. It's too bad. The only thing interesting about them is I think the rank 5 unit gets berserk and never retreats and stuff like that. But still, they're still trash. And there's no like magic units or anything in light infantry, so I mean they still suffer the problem of losing a lot of experience in the campaign, and therefore they're not very good for hard mode. Skirmishers get to attack without getting return fire if they're attacking somebody with melee. So they kind of act a little bit like range units. They also have better movement, better search. The later versions get invisibility, which is really nice. There's half damage. They basically get essentially half damage if the unit attacking them is the same movement or slower. So if the unit attacking these slingers had only 4 movement or less, then the slingers would basically take half damage. It really increases their survivability, and it really makes them hard to kill for like heavy infantry units or even light infantry units. Anything but really cavalry. So cavalry and sky hunters will rip them to shreds, but anything else has a hard time really killing them. Plus, if you can make them invisible, then the enemy's probably not even going to see them anyway. So they're actually pretty useful. I say that in the campaign, towards the later stages of the campaign, they can't keep 5 shields is the big problem. It's even with their ability to hide, they're still going to get hit, and therefore they're still not quite adequate for the campaign, in my opinion. You need units that can survive and can stay 5 shields basically. I don't think skirmishers are really that unit in my experience, so I don't use them beyond a certain point in the campaign. Archers were nice. That again, the design is not quite right. They should have gotten 4 movement instead of 5 movement. If archers had 4 movement and open formation, which they don't in the final rank, by the way, which means open formation means they can move easily. But if they had 4 movement and open formation in the rank 5 archer, then they'd be worth it in my opinion. However, they don't. So they're slow. They have trouble keeping up with your army, especially like when you on those big maps where you've got to move fast to, tie down all the objectives, and of course on hard you have to keep the enemy from getting chances to recruit new units, and the archers just don't help you do that. It's a slot wasted that you could be spent on like a heavy infantry or a cavalry or something with more staying power, something that can keep 5 shields, and something that can actually go help you do your objectives. Archers are more defensive, and the problem is in the campaign you have to play offensive. You don't have time because you're under a time limit. You can't just sit back and build up your some kind of defensive formation. You can't do that. You have to go forward and capture things. And archers are the antithesis of that. They're for staying back behind enemy lines or your lines and protecting your units. That it does have use in some instances. However, in the campaign, it's very rare that you get a lot of time to just sit back and defend. So archers can defend units with defensive fire if they're next to a melee unit and that unit gets attacked in melee. Then they get a free shot before the attack actually happens, and that can do a lot to maybe just reduce the numbers of the enemy before they actually get to do their attack. So it's a huge thing, but like I said, that's for playing defensively, and you cannot play defensively in the campaign for the most part. Now, we do get one archer that comes to us on the 3rd continent, and that archer has 4 movement, open formation, is a hero, and actually is quite good. So that's That's really, in my opinion, the only archer that it makes sense to have in your army in the campaign. But he's a very good. It's Krindel. He's an excellent archer. So anyway, what archers suffer from the fact that they're just not very strong on defense. That missile attack is pretty nice when they attack, but when they get attacked, they don't have a lot of armor. They don't have any like ability to do like to take only half damage like skirmishers, so they tend to get destroyed, particularly by a charging cavalry. Speaking of which, so cavalry is it's not quite up to par with heavy infantry in terms of its raw like armor and melee values. Heavy infantry does tend to have higher armor and melee values, actually considerably so. However, Cavalry A is more mobile with a movement of 5 instead of 3. It can move over rivers a lot easier. It doesn't move too well through rough terrain, but it does move through any open terrain. It moves extremely fast. And then finally there's the charge bonus. So whenever a cavalry attacks another unit, and the hex the unit is on is open terrain, considered open terrain, the cavalry gets a +8 bonus to its melee value and a +4 bonus to its armor. So it actually all of a sudden shoots above like what a heavy infantry would be for the same class or the same rank. And that's a huge thing, and devastating against things like skirmishers, things like archers, yeah, pretty much anything with low armor. Even melee, it hurts pretty bad to get hit by a charge from a cavalry unit. So it has a definite legitimate place in your army to have quite a few cavalry units in your army. And not only that, mortal units, when they get to rank 5, they get raised dead. Phoenix Knights. Phoenix Knights are awesome. They're immune to spells, they get raised dead, they have a magic attack. They're pretty good units. So, cavalry definitely a key class type in your army, in my opinion. Along with heavy infantry. Heavy infantry, although I probably won't use heavy infantry as much because I need mobility. And the magic units don't get force march, but cavalry definitely will have a lot of cavalry in our army in the end game. Very good unit type. Light cavalry. So light cavalry is kind of like skirmishers. They get the half damage rule. So anything with the same movement or less, which means 6 movement in this case. So basically, yeah, anything with 6 movement or less that hits them in melee, only does about half damage. So they're extremely hard to kill. Like, even charging cavalry don't do that much. Really, the only thing that can do full damage is Sky Hunters with their 7 movement. So that's nice, but on the other hand, cavalry don't really do that much damage themselves. They're really not good for actually going in and like taking objectives or anything like that, because they really just don't do much damage. Their skirmish never gets that high. They don't get a magical skirmish like skirmishers do in the later stages. So they're really mostly good for scouting. Just tying up the enemy a little bit, you could put a couple of light cavalry in front and kind of like just stop the enemy for a little while as it tries to get through the light cavalry. That's kind of really the best you can do with light cavalry. So I will probably have, oh yes, and of course they get Eagle Eye later, which is nice for scouting. But, so I probably have a couple of light cavalry in my army, but not likely more than a couple. They're just not really an effective unit for the campaign. Really, they're not an effective unit at all as far as actually trying to attack with them. Sky Hunters. Sky Hunters are... Well, if you're Krell, Sky Hunters are awesome. If you're any other leader in the campaign, Sky Hunters, in my opinion, are kind of trash. let me just list the problems and why I think they're trash for any other leader, is because any other leader you have mortal or, at best, mech units. The mortal units are pretty much trash in terms of you cannot keep them 5 shields in the late campaign. There's no way. They will get bombed by spells. They will get hit by other Sky Hunters. They are inferior to enemy Sky Hunters. The enemy Sky Hunters in the late campaign are amazing. They all have magical attacks. They all have, like, heroic thing, you know, the heroic ability, which means that they do full damage no matter what their actual strength is. You know, the late game enemy units in the campaign for Sky Hunters are pretty fierce, and only Krell can match them. Only Krell has access to Phoenix Hawks, which have Raised Dead, which is amazing. So if you're not Krell, Sky Hunters for the campaign are trash in my opinion. Now you might make a case for mech unit Sky Hunters, like the Seekers are immune to spells, which is great because spells are the big problem with Sky Hunters in the late game. And also they don't suffer kills, and also if you they have pretty good stats if you give them an amulet. If you don't give them if you don't give them an amulet, forget about it, because they will get trashed by the enemy Sky Hunters with magical attacks, which is a lot of those Sky Hunters that the enemy has. So but the problem is you need amulets. And my last game that I did with Marcus, I don't remember finding more than, I think, maybe 2 amulets total through the whole campaign, and I got to like the 6th or 7th continent. So that's not something you can count on. If you want to reload shrines, then yeah, okay, you can get enough amulets to fill out a Seeker army. And Seekers aren't bad as far as a Sky Hunter goes. They're not bad. I don't think they're certainly not up to Phoenix Knights or Phoenix Hawks, but they're not bad. But other than that, you know, I think Sky Hunters are really just not even worth it if you're not playing Krell. But we are playing Krell, and so we're definitely going to throw our weight in Sky Hunters. Bombardiers. Again, it's a question: are you playing Krell or not? Bombardiers without Krell, I say, are trash. Even the mech units are kind of trash. They don't even do that much damage. With Krell, Sky Hunters are pretty good. The Cloud ships, I think they are, the rank 5 Sky units with Krell, do mega damage. They have a huge missile attack rating. They have a magical attack. They're kind of tanky. They're not too tanky, but you usually just you know, escort them with Sky Hunters, so you know they don't get trashed by other Sky Hunters. But they're a good unit, and they can do a lot of damage to ground units without having to worry about you know, having to come into melee and take damage themselves. So they're really good. They're really good if you're Krell. If not, they're trash. They just you know, they suffer too many experience losses with kills. They don't do enough damage. If you're using the mech ones, then they're way too weak to magic. So they're good because we're Krell, and otherwise no. Siege engines are good if you're using mech units. Otherwise, they're crap. The mech units have a range 4. They don't suffer kills, and they do a lot of damage. So siege engines are good if you're using a land-based army, which means you're probably not leaning heavily on Sky Hunters and Bombardiers, which we will be. Because we're going to be leaning so heavy on Sky Hunters and Bombardiers, I do not recommend that we use siege units whatsoever. So we're probably just going to ignore that category. Spellcasters would be a good idea. Trouble is, they only have 1 spell. Those spells aren't useful enough to justify taking up a unit slot in your army, which is limited. You need that unit slot for units that's really going to help you. Maybe healers might be okay, so we might actually have a few healers in our army. Maybe, although we don't. Towards the end of the game, we won't need them probably, but healers maybe, but anything else, it doesn't either doesn't do enough damage. It's too little bit too weak. They only have 10 life. Their armor's terrible. They don't have the retreat advantage like skirmishers do, where they take half damage. They aren't very mobile, you know, etc., etc. It's just a weak unit, and the spell isn't good enough in each case, except for maybe healers. Healers might be okay. Anyway, so that's my rundown of the army here. So we're using mainly, like I said, heavy units, cavalry, sky hunters, and bombardiers, and that's pretty much it in the late game. Anyway, let's go ahead and start after all that. So this is just kind of like introductory type scenario here. It's really fairly easy. You shouldn't have much chance of actually losing the game here. Although you could screw this up. It's possible. I'm going to go ahead and, you see right down there my projected wins and losses. I think that's good enough. I'm going to try and get this Sky Hunter a little bit of experience there. I was pretty good. So I got broken, but it doesn't really matter, because nobody can attack me anyway. So that guy tried to attack me, got his butt whooped. So we're going to go over here and just, you know, basically just get some experience. And I'm going to push this guy out of here. And then I'm just going to kill him. That way my Sky Hunter here can rest, because he's not next to anybody. Alright, I'm just going to bash this guy really hard. There we go. So don't have to be too careful in this one. This one's an easy level. Basically just an introductory type level. And we want to take that standing stone so we can get somebody joining us here. We get an auto join of, you know, some random unit. So let's see what we got. Okay, so we got some war bands, which is nice. That's actually a pretty good joining unit. It's just heavy infantry, so, you know, it's pretty useful. It's fairly tanky. So we're just gonna hit this guy with our cavalry, I think. And this is where the Sky Hunter comes in handy. Now I could block this guy. I could go over here so this guy can't heal, but there's really no reason to do that. I'm gonna pick on this light infantry again. Again, we've got already got how much experience? 26 experience. So yeah, the idea, I mean, this may be only a rank 0 unit, but if you get enough experience, it could be pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and rest there with that guy. Okay. Really casual scenario. It's just meant to give you the kind of the basics of the game, really. You're not meant to really be challenged here. That will come later. Offers to surrender. So if you if the enemy takes 80% losses, then it'll offer to surrender. We don't really want to give it the chance to surrender, though. We'll just okay, there we go. Let's kill the last guy there. Rallying. Okay, so we got 100 gold, which you know, gets our guys a little bit closer to being researched here. And can't buy any more units. Let's just go to the next one here. So this is one where if you screw up, you could get in some trouble here on this one. So you have to know what you're doing. Oh, I got a slingers volunteered. That's nice. Okay. Sky Hunter's right there. Spellcaster, I guess, right there. So cool. I'm going to go over here, and that way we can see what's going on over here. So, remember what I said about archers getting return fire. So, both the Serpent Rider Cavalry and the Orcs Heavy Infantry, both of those are protected by these archers. who, if I attack either one of these in melee, then these archers will get return fire before I can actually attack. And so that means I'm essentially getting damaged by 2 units, which kind of sucks. So usually you want to avoid that. I mean, sometimes you can't, and sometimes it's better just to attack, go ahead and attack and deal with it. Sometimes you have an armor so high that it doesn't matter if there's archers. But in this particular case, I probably don't want to go do this right now and just attack this guy. Or if I do, I want to use somebody who's really got a lot of armor. Or we could probably use these unicorns here. And, well, no, they still have a chance. Even with the charge bonus there, they're not going to do too well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just attack these guys with Sky Hunters, I think. Oh, maybe not. How about this? Let's cast Fear. I have a chance to break them. Okay, so I just broke them. Now that they're broken, they definitely they will not do return fire if they're broken, so we don't have to worry about them now. So now I'm going to go and charge this guy. So remember the charge bonus in open terrain. This guy is effectively 18 melee and 13 armor instead of really 10 melee and 9 armor because of the charge bonus. So he's actually got a pretty good bonus against this guy. Let's see here. Let's just, yeah. There, that pushes that guy out of the way. I want to get to that Serpent Rider there. I want to hit that Serpent Rider. There we go. That way the Serpent Rider doesn't get his little charge against me. And I'm just going to go right there to kind of stop that guy from healing. I'm going to send this guy down here. This guy right here. We're going to send a lot of our slingers down here. Because we want to kind of block these guys right here, and then we're going to sneak around because there's a city there where he can recruit from if I'm not careful. And I want to stop him from doing that. So now, it should be known that Sky Hunters get a bonus versus Cavalry, and not only that, this Cavalry is on a river, which means his number of attacks are halved. So I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of this and attack this Cavalry, which broke him, and now he's over there. He won't be able to attack this turn. He'll have to heal or run. Probably heal because he's broken. Alright, Air Warriors got broken. That's basically just because of the low morale from because I'm Krell. There's just nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. Okay, so this orc moved up here. That's fine. What I want to do is I want to focus on getting this city over here. So my guys who have kind of swerved around over here and are going through the side, we want to take these guys up here, and that's why I gave this guy this fireball wand, is because, like Cavalry, again, because of the half damage rule against enemies who are slower or the same movement as they are, he's pretty survivable. I mean, he's pretty hardy, so he's kind of hard to kill. Plus, he's mobile, so I can get in there with that fireball. It's really a case. The fireball wand is not good for the late game. It's really just doesn't do enough, but for the early game, it does pretty well. Plus, what else are you going to do with a light cavalry, because they're so weak anyway as far as their attack? So that's probably the best guy to give that to. I'm going to go over there. Ah, good. Broke him. Very nice. We want to kind of surround this guy over here. I think I want to go over here with these skirmishers and push my way towards this town, so I could possibly get a couple of guys alongside this orc so he can't recruit guys over here. But down here we want to kind of focus on maybe pushing these guys out so we can get this this item that's over here at the altar. And let's see here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cast Death Wounds on this unicorn. So that means every wound you inflict becomes a death. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to attack these slave archers. So now these slave archers have taken 7 dead, and even though I can't get alongside them to keep from healing, they can't heal anyway because those are deaths. They have to go to a town to recruit those. So, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go up here. The idea is we also want to get these standing stones. And let's see here. There's that cavalry right there. I don't really want to attack him because there's actually a chance I could kill him. And if he starts to recruit somebody over here, then I'm going to have double the problem of trying to get this place in check. So I'm just going to leave that cavalry right there. He might heal, but I don't care. I'm going to go over here instead. I'm going to attack this guy. And I still get a fireball if I want. I'm going to go ahead and fireball that orc in there. Alright, well, didn't do any kills, but that's okay. Okay. Not that big a deal. Why do you have to be in the way like that, dude? So this archer's kind of in the way, and I don't have any way to kind of push him out, which is what I want to do. I want to get control of this. You know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to do take this guy. Can I? Yes, okay. Good. I can do that. All right, now he's not quite so in the way. So I can get this guy over here. And actually, let's see if I can fireball this orc. And yeah, there we go. Okay, and then we're going to fireball him again. So now we've got two guys surrounding this city. So it only takes one guy to surround a city to keep that city from being able to recruit. But I'm always worried about like this melee unit maybe attacking and pushing that character away and then recruiting. So I usually try to surround it with two or more just to keep that accidental thing from happening. Yeah, I did attack those guys there. Why not? Okay, now I can kill guys. So now we can actually start killing. I'm going to go ahead and gonna death wounds that over there. So we're going to death wounds the treeman. Just destroyed them. Cool. I could take that, but, well, okay, let's do it. 50 gold. Okay, good. Could have been an item, could have been gold. In this case, it was gold. So even though this guy's broken, I'm still going to use him to do this here. So we should kill them. Also to note that the more units you have surrounding an enemy, the more of a bonus you get to your attack and defense against that enemy, or to your attack anyway against that enemy. So even if they're a crappy unit like the Slinger, they still contribute to that extra bonus. Uh-oh. Okay. Alright, good. Luckily, they didn't kill those guys. Alright, so we're going to hit these guys as hard as we can. I'm going to go ahead and just wipe this guy out. There we go. I should be able to... Yeah, okay, that's alright. Didn't get him, but that's okay. So we're going to take this town. Each town we take gives us 5 gold. Let's see if I can kill that archer, and I did. And I'm going to fireball this dude. There we go. Let's see here, 60 gold. Okay, so I got gold in each case there. Might have been nice to get a good item like a bow or something, but that's alright. Go ahead and rest that guy. And fireball that dude. Broke him. Good. Okay. So. I will think I'll chase that down with this guy. And then do it with this guy. Yeah. Krell suffers a lot of breaks in, with his army, and it's really kind of frustrating. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing at all you can do about it. That's the end of that guy. Alright, well, this this guy can't even get over there. That's that, I guess. We have 2 units, and that's it to kill. Oh, the other thing about skirmishers is they also get a bonus in rough terrain. Got him. Enemy offers to surrender? Nah. We just killed the last guy here. Not a big deal. I want to get the skirmisher the experience, so there we go. Alright, yeah. Okay, got some new units, which is cool. I'm going to buy 2 elf chariots, because elf chariots are a really good bang for the buck as far as their melee and armor. Whereas, yeah, they're a pretty good upgrade for unicorns, and they're going to be used for a while. If you get them experience, right? If you get them, you know, like 3 or 4 shields, they'll be pretty useful for the second continent, which is where we'll probably ditch them after that. But anyway, okay, so those are, yeah, bought 2 units right there, 2 elf chariots, and that was it. I suppose we might as well save. Who knows, we might make a huge mistake here. Let's go ahead and do the final map of this continent here. So in this one, I usually put the slow units down at the bottom, whereas the faster units I usually put up at the top. Oh, in fact, I didn't upgrade. Okay. Forgot to upgrade those skirmishers. Oops. Alright. Well, that's alright. So we'll have to upgrade the skirmishers next time. I'll put 1 skirmisher down here, I think. And the cavalry right there. Sky Hunter right there. Spellcaster right there. I think that should be okay. So, Treeman. So basically we've got to go... The hard part about this top place is that we've got a river in our way. So that's why I use like the faster units in the cavalry. These units down here can kind of just turtle along. It's not a big deal. They'll get there. But kind of what we want to do is they've got really kind of a trap set up here for us with the river and some heavy infantry over the river. So we just take like our skirmishers right along the other side of the river there, and we wait for them to come to us. And then at the same time, we sneak our cavalry over the river right here. Because cavalry can cross rivers really fast compared to other units. And then we've also got our Sky Hunter, who... I probably don't want to engage in any of these guys with the Sky Hunter, because the Sky Hunter is going to take some brutal losses there, which we don't really need right now. Instead, we'll go over here, because over here there's a... There's actually a bombardier, but I don't see it. I'm just going to fireball this light infantry here, and that's that. Oh, crap. And then I get hit by that thing. Wonderful. Okay, that sucked. Okay. Oops. Okay, well, I'm going to fireball that... not fireball, but whirlwind that bombardier to keep it from doing anything to me. And so what happened was the ogres got on the river there, and they attacked me. But the problem with that is, for the ogres, is that they're now on a river, which means they get half attacks. I'm just going to sit here and whack at him to my heart's content here. And then he gets broken. And then I'm just going to cross the river myself here. And I'm going to go ahead and fireball those orcs. And man, that sucked. I took a lot of damage from that disease thrower. Dang. Took a ton of damage from that disease thrower. I might actually have to retreat with this character. I could heal here, but then I'd just take another round of damage with that disease thrower. Kind of not into that, so I'm just going to retreat. Okay. I heavily wounded those orcs. I'm going to heavily wound these guys right here. And then I'm just going to do that to keep both of them from healing. We're just going to kind of advance over here. Okay, I'm going to go this way. Block myself a little bit. All right. Nice try. My armor is too heavy for that. Alright, so we want to get these goblins off there, like, immediately. Because we've got a guy that we can hire, or that will join us if we can get to that Shrine of Anarch. So we'll use the treemen, who are very likely to just push them completely off there. Then we'll use the volunteers to just take it, and we get Lorik, who's a heavy infantry mortal unit. He's got 3 movement, 3 search range. He's got the Berserk spell. He himself is, I think he's under the influence of Berserk. Yeah, he's got Berserk himself, which means he doesn't retreat, and I believe his melee is a little bit higher and his armor might be a little bit lower than it actually states. But he's also resistant to spells, so spells don't work on him. Enemy spells. And that's pretty good. And his magic defense is actually 100, even though it's bugged out and it doesn't tell you. So he doesn't actually take any extra damage from magical attacks. And you see that sword right there. That means his type of attack is a melee attack. And there's other units like this treeman who has a star. That means his type of attack is a magical attack. And magical attacks, they're modified by the defender's magical resist, and like a magical defense of 90, when this treeman would get attacked by a magical attack, his defense is reduced by 10%. It's taken. He uses 90% of his defense to defend against that magical attack. So that's another reason why units with magical attacks are so devastating. Yeah, because in most cases, like the mortal units only have 75% magical defense. Oh, this is not a mortal unit. This right here. So yeah, this unit has 75% of magical defense. So that means he only gets about 3/4 of his armor to defend against units who have a magical attack. And by the way, just in case you were wondering, in the late game, a lot of the enemy units have a magical attack, which really kind of sucks. A lot of the enemy units, even if they're mortal units, they still have a magical attack. It's really, really bullcrap. Really bullcrap. Okay, so again, I'm going to keep that bombardier from attacking me by blasting it with spells, where he has to heal every turn. And we want to do... I think we want to do that. I'm going to blast it with this. So we're just kind of like trying to get our way around this city, because there's another city that we want to go to over here with these guys and block off so it can't hire anybody. This guy probably run... Yeah, there we go. Okay. And I'm just going to do this to that guy, and maybe I'll go block those orcs so they can't heal, I think. Maybe. Seems like a good idea. Then I'll go over here and beat on this giant some more. And again, we're just blocking these guys so they can't heal, mostly. We just need to get into a position where we can block him from actually recruiting units. Uh-oh. Well, of course, we didn't plan on him literally killing himself. So now he will, maybe he might actually recruit a new unit at this point, because he can. He lost a unit, therefore he can recruit a unit. Wasn't my fault. That idiot actually did it to himself this time. But I actually might be able to stop that. It looks like he didn't. Sometimes they don't do that immediately. And it looks like that might be one of those times. So, yeah, I might actually be able to stop that anyway, so... It doesn't look to me like he had the ability to do that for some reason. I don't know why. So if I can put this chariot over here blocking this castle, then he won't have the opportunity to recruit that guy he lost regardless. So maybe it won't matter. But sometimes the enemy does stupid stuff, and it actually, in doing stupid stuff, it makes things even harder for you. Like in that case where he attacked me, lost a unit completely, and now that could give him the ability to re-recruit that dead unit, which would be disastrous for me because he would probably recruit at like 3 shields or something like that. But actually, it looks like I can go ahead and block him before he does that. So we just hope that's the case. Okay, that guy's gone. So I can now get through here. So there we go. Yeah, I'll take that. Good. We can get that. We can get that bombardier with our sky hunter there. And now I just gotta. What I gotta do is I gotta somehow. Because if I run up next to this orc infantry with these elf chariots, he has a good chance of being able to attack me and push me away, which will let him recruit units around his castle. But maybe I could cast weakness or fear. Those are kind of like, those don't have a big chance to work. I'm going to try and cast fireball and hope that it does a lot of oh, damn. Okay, this could be bad, actually. So I'm just going to try and block him. Hopefully that works. Might not work, though. And if that doesn't work, we could be in trouble. He might, yeah. Well, let's see. Okay. Okay. Uh-oh. 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 Exactly what I didn't want to happen there happened. Oh, boy. And they have 2 shields. Okay. Well, it's not 3 shields, but my God. That was a disaster. That was a real disaster, by the way. Can we recover from that? I hope we can. I'm hoping we can. Okay, so I might be forced to take some losses here, but oh yeah, so you can see, so the guys he recruited, this is the big thing about experience. So the guys he recruited, this guy's 17 melee, 20 armor, which is way over my head right now, and that's because of the 2 shields. So I'm going to need Lorik up here. We're just going to hope that we didn't just screw up royally here in a way that we can't recover from. Because that could be kind of devastating. I probably shouldn't have gone overboard on killing everything until I was sure I had everything locked down there. So first order of business. I have to heal there. First order of business, let me see if I can get rid of this guy like this. Okay, then I can move this guy up here. He's going to have to retreat. First order of business is to just kind of try to get a handle on this situation here, which ain't going to be easy. Let's see here. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what my options are. So we can, like, if we start on this end. Okay, so block him with 2, hopefully. I need the heavy hitters kind of up here. I'm going to have to get this guy up here for sure. Wow, didn't even, like... Jeez. Okay, hold on. We gotta use our spells. I gotta remember to use the spells. Okay, so maybe could break this orc infantry if I was lucky. What's his magic defense is 75. Cast weakness. We could weakness or we could fear. Weakness at least does 1 point if it fails. Oh, it didn't fail. Okay, so we can push this guy out. All right. Maybe we have a chance of actually getting this back under control. But you see what can happen on hard. Okay, I must move up here with this guy. That is an important thing. He's got to get up there. Okay, so he pushed that one out. Hopefully he can't push them all out. Okay, he didn't push them all out. Woof. Okay. Okay. Alright. So, geez, alright. So, no harm done, turns out. We can recover from this, thank God. Yeah. By the way, we have a dude running around down here, and I don't know exactly where he is. Whew. Yeah, that was scary. By the way, I'm gonna... Okay, 60 gold right there. Still haven't got any items, but okay. I'm going to send this staff slingers over here to guard this town. I have a dude. There's a dude running around down there, and I don't exactly know where he is, like I said. But I don't want him to like circle back and then take one of these towns, and then I'll literally just lose the scenario because I probably won't be able to take it back. Okay, so we're gonna use Lorik. His 25 melee, 20 armor is way overpowered at this point, and he's able to probably just force this guy off right here, which is what we want to do. This guy needs to heal. Let me see here. Okay, so what he'll do is he'll probably try to put a guy back in here, and that's fine. I'm going to go make sure these ogres don't heal because, God, they have ridiculous melee and armor, so it's going to be a pain in the ass trying to get them beat down again. And so we don't want to just see skirmishers again, easy to replace. You know, use them as kind of just, you know, guys that can block people, which is what we want to do. We just want to go over here and just kind of block these guys, pin them down with skirmishers, and we go ahead and do that. Oh, we can still cast a spell, which, let's see if I can get lucky again with weakness. Oh yes, got lucky again with weakness. Awesome. Oof, boy. Okay, managed to push that guy out, but I don't think he can't move. Yeah, well, he can't move Lorik. Lorik doesn't retreat. Okay. Volunteers get killed, I don't care because they're gonna leave me anyway pretty soon. In fact, just right after this scenario, they're gonna leave, so we don't care if they die. As callous as that may seem, that's how you gotta be. What? I broke. Oh God. Yeah. All right. Whatever. Anyway, so what we want to do here, definitely want to kill this guy. We want to just stack up guys alongside him and get that bonus. Now he's broken, so now I can definitely kill him. So yeah, like I said, you want to stack guys like alongside him. That way they get the adjacent bonus, and that kind of mitigates his ridiculous stats there. Go ahead and do this. Try to get this guy. Okay. Like I said, Lorik will not move. He will not retreat. His berserk status doesn't allow him to retreat, so we don't have to worry about this guy pushing him out. Plus, he's got stats that he's just too strong to kill anyway. So we're gonna do that. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna go down here and kind of block these guys and fireball them because these guys are beginning to be kind of a problem. Oh yeah, and this elf chariot, huh? Charge that guy. Charge helps against their ridiculous stats right there. Let's see. Okay, so there's nobody threatening to take this city. I can go ahead and move off this city. Okay, I'm not going to dare move this treeman for right now. I'm just going to let him sit there. Who else can move? That guy, that guy, that guy. Okay, those guys. All right, that's fine. I'm going to cast Whirlwind. Broke him. Nice. Okay, that's my turn. Good. Okay, they keep trying to do damage to that guy, but it's not easy with that half damage. Okay, got rid of that guy. We need to take this city so we can get that money. Okay, now the enemy offers to surrender. However, I'm not going to accept because I'm not done. We still need some experience here. But anyway, I just wanted to get that castle, because if you don't get that castle, then you don't get the 10 gold you get for capturing that castle. You know, you don't automatically get that for beating the scenario, so I want to get that gold. Every little bit of gold counts for sure in this game. The whirlwind this dude. And then we're going to attack him. Even though we're broken, it doesn't really matter. So you can sometimes use broken units. Alright, so we want to kill this guy here. We want to probably use our elf chariots to do it, I would say. There we go. Good. Okay, so I get an Amulet of Resistance, which is great. Actually, those are very useful. 250 gold, and we're off to the next continent. There's my victory pose. And we're heading to the next continent.
Word of your triumph over King Draga has spread quickly. People are rejoicing for the first time since Fire Isle rose from the depths of the sea. On the Isle of Four Winds, the peasants have perhaps begun to rejoice too heartily. They took up arms against Alcar the Shadow Wizard, and even managed to liberate a few villages in the northwest. Alcar was quick to respond, however, slaughtering whole villages and raising the dead in unspeakable rituals. You have only a brief time before those armies of undead overwhelm the peasants, and your opportunity to liberate the Isle of Four Winds is lost.
Okay. Oh, we're not done.
Also learned that the Shadow Lord emerged from his seclusion on Fire Isle and is oiling the wheels of war. He sent the renowned mechmaster Ferris to the Isle of Four Winds and is forcing him to build a host of war machines for Elcar.
Okay. Yeah, so this guy we're facing now is a wizard like myself, so he can cast a spell per turn, and it's a lot harder, this continent, especially at the end. The end battle is very easy to lose if you screw up. So this is kind of the real test here. But I'm going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll do this continent in the next video.